Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I vowed every day to try, as I just said to the devotees in the room, to be Prabhupada's mailman and just deliver Srila Prabhupada to as many people as I can, direct, straight. And also to discuss, what he has to say in the company of devotees every day. This is the medicine. So let's read Srila Sanatana Goswami's prayer to the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which we're reading, by the way, all the way through. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava by Sanatana Goswami, and it goes like this. Sarva Shashabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarvalokaika Drikprida. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidvanduditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nisdadanga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochatakada hanamunchagada chinma premna rit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, we've reached more or less the end of the pastimes of Prahlada Maharaj and the appearance of Nrsingadev and all the prayers and all of the beautiful lessons that come from that pastime. And now we're moving on. In the end of the 10th chapter of the 7th canto, Maharaj Yudhishthira is continuing his conversation with Narada Muni, which started the whole thing. That started the pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev and Prahlada Maharaj. Beginning with text 52. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, for what reason did the demon Maya Danava vanquish Lord Shiva's reputation? How did Lord Krishna save Lord Shiva and expand his reputation again? Kindly describe these incidents. Text 53. Sri Narada Uvacha, Narada Muni said, when the demigods, who were always powerful by the mercy of Lord Krishna, fought with the Asuras were defeated, and therefore they took shelter of Mayadanava, the greatest of the demons. 54, 55. Mayadanava, the great leader of the demons, prepared 3 invisible residences and gave them to the demons. These dwellings resembled airplanes made of gold, silver, iron, and they contained uncommon paraphernalia. My dear King Yudhishthir, because of these 3 dwellings, the commanders of the demons remained invisible to the demigods. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the demons, remembering their former enmity, began to vanquish the 3 worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Text 56. Thereafter, when the demons began to destroy the higher planetary systems, the rulers of those planets went to Lord Shiva, fully surrendered unto him, and said, Dear Lord, we demigods living in the 3 worlds are about to be vanquished. We are your followers. Kindly save us. Text 57. The most powerful and able Lord Shiva reassured them and said, Do not be afraid. He then fixed his arrows to his bow and released them through the 3 residences occupied by the demons. The arrows released by Lord Shiva appeared like fiery beams emanating from the sun globe and covered the 3 residential airplanes, which could then no longer be seen. 59. Attacked by Lord Shiva's golden arrows, all the demoniac inhabitants of those 3 dwellings lost their lives and fell down. Then the great mystic Mayadanava dropped the demons into a nectarian well that he had created. Purport. The asuras are generally extremely powerful because of their mystic yogic power. However, as Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6:47, Yoginam apisarvesham madgatenantaratmana shadhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The actual purpose of mystic yoga is to concentrate one's attention fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and always think of him, madgatenantaratmana. To attain such perfection, one must undergo a certain process, Hatha Yoga. And through this yoga system, the practitioner achieves some uncommon mystic power. The asuras, however, instead of becoming devotees of Krishna, utilize this mystic power for their personal sense gratification. Mayadanava, for example, is mentioned here as a Mahayogi, a great mystic, but his business was to help the asuras. Nowadays we are actually seeing that there are some yogis who cater to the senses of materialists, and there are impostors who advertise themselves as God. Mayadanava was such a person, a god among the demons, and he could perform some wonderful feats, one of which is described here. He made a well filled with nectar and dipped the asuras into that nectarian well. This nectar was known as Mrita Sanjivatiya, for it could bring a dead body to life. Mrita Sanjivani is also an Ayurvedic preparation. It is a kind of liquor that invigorates even a person on the verge of death. Text 60. When the dead bodies of the demons came in touch with the nectar, their bodies became invincible to thunderbolts. Endowed with great strength, they got up like lightning penetrating rods. Text 61. Seeing Lord Shiva very much aggrieved and disappointed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, considered how to stop this nuisance created by Mayadanava. Text 62. Then Lord Brahma became a calf, and Lord Vishnu a cow. Then at noon they entered the residences and drank all the nectar in the well. Text 63. The demons could see the calf and cow, but because the illusion created by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demons could not forbid them. The great mystic Mayadanava became aware that the calf and cow were drinking the nectar, and he could understand this to be the unseen power of providence. He thus spoke to the demons, who were grievously lamenting. 64. Mayadanava said, "What has been destined by the Supreme Lord for oneself, for others, or for oneself and others, cannot be undone anywhere or by anyone, whether one be a demigod, a demon, a human being, or anyone else." Purport. The Supreme Lord is one, Krishna, the Vishnu Tattva. Krishna expands himself into Vishnu Tattva personal expansions, Swangsha, who control everything. Mayadanava said, however I plan, you plan, or both of us plan, the Lord has planned what is to happen. No one's plan will be successful without his sanction. We may make our own various plans, but unless they are sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, they will never be successful. Hundreds and millions of plans are made by all kinds of living entities, but without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, they are futile. Text 65 and 66. Narada Muni continued, thereafter, Lord Krishna, by his own personal potency, consisting of religion, knowledge, renunciation, opulence, austerity, education, and activities, equipped Lord Shiva with all the necessary paraphernalia, such as a chariot, a charioteer, a flag, horses, elephants, a bow, a shield, and arrows. When Lord Shiva was fully equipped in this way, he sat down in the chariot with his arrows and bow to fight with the demons. Purport. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam 12:13-16, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, Lord Shiva is the best of the Vaishnavas, the devotees of Lord Krishna. Indeed, he is one of the Mahajanas, the 12 authorities on Vaishnava philosophy, Swayambhur, Naradak Shambhu, Kumara, Kapilo, Manu, etc. Lord Krishna is always prepared to help all the Mahajans and devotees in every respect. Kontya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. Although Lord Shiva is very powerful, he lost a battle to the Asuras, and therefore he was morose and disappointed. However, because he is one of the chief devotees of the Lord personally equipped him with all the paraphernalia for war. The devotee therefore must serve the Lord sincerely, and Krishna is always in the background to protect him, and if need be, to equip him fully to fight with his enemy. For devotees, there is no scarcity of knowledge or material requisites for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. Text 67. My dear King Yudhishthir, the most powerful Lord Shiva joined the arrows to his bow, and at noon he set fire to all 3 residences of the demons and thus destroyed them. Text 68. Seated on their airplanes in the sky, the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems beat many kettle drums. The demigods, saints, pitas, siddhas, and various great personalities showered flowers on the head of Lord Shiva, wishing him all victory, and the apsaras began to chant and dance with great pleasure. 69. O King Yudhishthir, thus Lord Shiva is known as Tripurari, the annihilator of the 3 dwellings of the demons, because he burnt these dwellings to ashes, being worshipped by the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva returned to his own abode. The Lord Sri Krishna appeared as a human being, yet he performed many uncommon and wonderful pastimes by his own potency. How can I say more about his activities than what has already been said by the great saintly persons? Everyone can be purified by his activities, simply by hearing about them from the right source. Purport: Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedic literatures fully explain that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears in human society as an ordinary human being, but acts very uncommonly for the well-being of the entire world. One should not be influenced by the illusory energy and think Lord Krishna to be an ordinary human being. Those who really seek the absolute truth come to understand that Krishna is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Such great souls are very rare. Nonetheless, if one studies the entire Krishna consciousness movement Nonetheless, if one studies the entire Bhagavad Gita as it is, I skipped a line, sorry. Nonetheless, if one studies the entire Bhagavad Gita as it is, Krishna is very easy to understand. If one studies the entire Bhagavad Gita as it is, Krishna is very easy to understand. We shouldn't be dilettantes and just read a little here, a little there, one verse there, and think that we can understand. We have to hear the whole thing all the way. That's why we're doing this every day, Bhagavatam. Nonetheless, if one studies the entire Bhagavad Gita as it is, Krishna is very easy to understand. The Krishna consciousness movement is just trying to make Krishna known all over the world as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. If people take this movement seriously, their lives as human beings will be successful. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to 7th canto, 10th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlada, the best among the exalted devotees. Prahlada Maharaj ki jai. Okay. Hare Krishna. Chapter 11. The Perfect Society. 4 Social Classes. This chapter describes the general principles by following which a human being, and specifically one who is interested in advancing in spiritual life, can become perfect. By hearing about the characteristics of Prahlada Maharaj, Maharaj Yudhishthira became extremely pleased. Now he inquired from Narada Muni about the actual religion of a human being and about special characteristics of Varnashram Dharma, which marks the highest status of human civilization. When Maharaj Yudhishthira asked Narada Muni about these matters, Narada Muni stopped giving his own statements and quoted statements by Lord Narayana, for he is the supreme authority for giving religious codes. Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. Every human being is expected to acquire 30 qualities, such as truthfulness, mercy, and austerity. The process of following the principles of religion is known as Sanatan Dharma, the eternal religious system. The Varnashram system delineates the divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It also sets forth the system of sanskaras, the Garbhadhana, sanskara, the ceremony for begetting a child must be observed by the higher section of people, namely the Dvijas. One who follows the Garbhadhana Sanskara system is actually twice born. But those who do not, who deviate from the principles of Varnashram Dharma, are called Dvija Bandhus. The principal occupations for a Brahmana are worshipping the deity, teaching others how to worship the deity, studying the Vedic literatures, teaching the Vedic literatures, accepting charity from others, and again giving charity to others. A Brahmana should make his livelihood from these 6 occupational duties. The duty of a Kshatriya is to give protection to the citizens and levy taxes upon them, but he is forbidden to tax the Brahmanas. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement should therefore be exempt from government taxation. Jai Prabhupada. Kshatriyas may tax everyone but the Brahmanas. Vaishyas should cultivate the land, produce food grains, and protect the cows, whereas the Shudras, who by quality never become Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, or Vaishyas, should serve the 3 higher classes and be satisfied. Other means of livelihood are also prescribed for the Brahmanas, and these are 4: Shalina, Yayavara, Shila, and Unchana. Each of these occupational duties is successively better. One who is in a lower grade of social life cannot accept the profession of a higher class unless necessary. In times of emergency, all the classes, but the Kshatriyas, may accept professional duties of others. Prabhupada used to say that the Kali Yuga, the time we're in now, is an emergency. So we can practically take any occupation if it's necessary. The means of livelihood known as Rita, Silonchana, Amrita, Ayachita, Mrita, Yagya, we'll hear about this later, Pramrita, Karshana, and Satyantriya, Jita, Banija, may be accepted by everyone but the Kshatriyas. For a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, engaging in the service of the Vaishyas or Shudras is considered the profession of dogs. Narada Muni also described that the symptom of a Brahmana is controlled senses, the symptoms of a Kshatriya are power and fame, the symptom of a Vaishya is service to the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and the symptoms of a Shudra is service to the 3 higher classes. The qualification of a woman is to be very faithful and a chaste wife. In this way, Narada Muni described the characteristics of higher and lower grades of people and recommended that one of the principles of his caste or his hereditary occupation, that he recommended that one follow the principles of his caste or his hereditary occupation. One cannot suddenly give up a profession to which he is accustomed, and therefore it is recommended that one gradually be awakened. The symptoms of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are very important, and therefore one should be designated only by these symptoms and not by birth. Designation by birth is strictly forbidden by Narada Muni and all great personalities. And that's the fall down of the Indian culture right now. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami continued. After hearing about the activities and character of Prahlada Maharaj, which are adored and discussed among great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Yudhishthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. Text 2. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, "My dear Lord, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as Varnashram Dharma." Purport. Sanatana Dharma means devotional service. The word Sanatana refers to that which is eternal, which does not change, but continues in all circumstances. We have several times explained that the eternal occupational duty of the living being, what the eternal occupational duty of the living being is. Indeed, it has been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupa Hoya Krishnara Nityadas. The real occupational duty of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if one prefers to deviate from this principle, he remains a servant because that is his eternal position. But one serves Maya, the illusory energy, material energy. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is an attempt to guide human society to serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead instead of serving the material world with no profit. Our actual experience is that every man, animal, bird, and beast, indeed every living entity, is engaged in rendering service. Even though one's body or one's superficial religion may change, every living entity is always engaged in the service of someone. Therefore, the mentality of service is called the eternal occupational duty. This eternal occupational duty can be organized through the institution of Varnashrama, in which there are 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and 4 ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Thus, Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired from Narada Muni about the principles of Sanatana Dharma for the benefit of human society. Text 3. O best of the Brahmanas, you are directly the son of Prajapati, Lord Brahma. Because of your austerities, mystic yoga, and trance, you are considered the best of all Lord Brahma's sons. 4. No one is superior to you in peaceful life and mercy, and no one knows better than you how to execute devotional service or how to become the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, you know all the principles of confidential religious life, and no one knows them better than you. Purport. Yudhishthira Maharaj knew that Narada Muni is the supreme spiritual master of human society, who can teach the path of spiritual liberation, leading to the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, it is for this purpose that Narada Muni compiled this Bhakti Sutra and gave his Bhakti Sutra and gave directions in the Narada Pancharatra. To learn about religious principles and the perfection of life, one must take instruction from the disciplic succession of Narada Muni. Our Krishna consciousness movement is directly in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya. Narada Muni received instructions from Lord Brahma and then in turn transmitted the instructions to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva instructed to his son Shukadeva Goswami, who spoke Srimad-Bhagavatam. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on Srimad-Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Because Srimad-Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami and Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna, there is no difference between them. If we strictly follow the principle of disciplic succession, we are certainly on the right path of spiritual liberation or eternal engagement in devotional service. Text 5. Sri Narada Muni said, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayana. Purport. The word Aja refers to Krishna, who explains in Bhagavad Gita 4:6, Ajopi san avyab yayaya ma. I am existing, and thus I never take birth. There is no change in my existence. Text 6. Lord Narayana along with his partial manifestation Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badrikashram. Text 7. The Supreme Being, the Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthir, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Purport. As stated by Yamaraj, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Yamaraj, the representative of the Lord, who takes care of the living beings after their death, gives his verdict as to how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15 it is said, Vedaish chasarvar aham eva vedyaha. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, whether one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principles of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad-Bhagavatam 126 therefore concludes, Savai pungsang pado dharmo yato bhaktir adhok sajay ahaituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. In other words, religious principles aim at learning how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material considerations. Then human society will be happy in all respects. The Smriti, the scriptures following the principles of Vedic knowledge, are considered the evidence of Vedic principles. There are 20 different types of scripture for following religious principles, and among them, the scriptures of Manu and Yajnavalkya are considered to be all-pervading authorities. In Yajnavalkya Smriti, it is said, Shruti Smriti Sadachara Swasya cha Priyamatmanaha Samyak Sankalpija Kamo Dharma Moolam Idam Smritam. One should learn human behavior from Shruti, the Vedas, and from Smriti, the scriptures following the Vedic principles. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Bidim Bina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpata Yaiva Kalpate. The purport is that to become a devotee, one must follow the principles laid down in Shruti and Smriti. One must follow the codes of the Puranas and the Pancharatric Vidhi. One cannot be a pure devotee without following the Shruti and Smriti. And the Shruti and Smriti, without devotional service, cannot lead one to the perfection of life. Therefore, from all the evidence, the conclusion is that without bhakti, devotional service, there is no question of religious principles. God is the central figure in the performance of religious principles. Almost everything going on in this world as religion is devoid of any idea of devotional service and is therefore condemned by the verdict of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. Text 8 to 12. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, all human beings, please listen. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day, austerity, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhishthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Get ready for this. This is a classic. This is a softball pitch for Prabhupada. He's going to knock it out of the park. In order that human beings be distinct from animals, the great Saint Narada recommends that every human being be educated in terms of the above-mentioned 30 qualifications. Nowadays there is propaganda everywhere all over the world for a secular state, a state interested only in mundane activities. But if the citizens of the state are not educated in the above-mentioned good qualities, how can there be happiness? For example, if the total populace is untruthful, how can the state be unhappy? What to speak of the president? Oh, excuse me. For example, if the total populace is untruthful, how can the state be happy? Therefore, without consideration of one's belonging to a sectarian religion, whether Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, everyone should be taught to become truthful. Similarly, everyone should be taught to be merciful. And everyone should observe fasting on certain days of the month. Everyone should bathe twice a day, cleanse his teeth and body externally, and cleanse his mind internally by remembering the holy name of the Lord. The Lord is one, whether one is Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. Therefore, one should chant the holy name of the Lord, regardless of differences in linguistic pronunciation. Also, everyone should be taught to be very careful not to discharge semen unnecessarily. This is very important for all human beings. If semen is not discharged unnecessarily, one becomes extremely strong in memory, determination, activity, and the vitality of one's bodily energy. Everyone should also be taught to be simple in thought and feeling, and satisfied in body and mind. These are the general qualifications of a human being. There is no question of a secular state or an ecclesiastical state. Unless one is educated in the above mentioned 30 qualities, there cannot be peace. Ultimately, it is recommended Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya Smaranam Mahatam Gatehe Sevadya Vanitir Dasyam Sakyam Atma Samarpanam. Everyone should become a devotee of the Lord. But because by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one automatically acquires the other qualities. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat yukinchana sarvaya gunais tatra samasate sudaha harau abhaktasa kuto mahad guna mato rati nasati davato bihi. If in one who has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. Our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is all-embracing. Human civilization should take it very seriously and practice its principles for the peace of the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 13. I don't believe that you'll hear in any other religious scripture talk like that, recognizing all the other religions as part of the, process. They're all sectarian. The others are wrong, and we're truth. Text 13. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadhana ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma, are Dvijas, or twice born. Such Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the 4 ashramas: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. Purport. After giving a general list of 30 qualifications for one's behavior, Narada Muni now describes the principles of the 4 varnas and 4 those 30 principles are needed just to follow the varnashram system. What to speak of the perfection? A human being must be trained in the above mentioned 30 qualities, otherwise he is not even a human being. Then, among such qualified persons, the varnashram process should be introduced. In the varnashram system, the first ceremony for purification is Garbhadhana, which is performed with mantras at the time of sex for propagating a good child. One who uses sex life not for sensual pleasures but only to beget children according to the reformatory method is also accepted as a brahmachari. One should not waste semen on sensual pleasure, violating the principles of Vedic life. Restraint in sex is possible, however, only when the populace is trained in the above mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, it is not possible. Even if one is born in a family of Dvijas, or twice born, if they have not followed the reformatory process, he is called a Dvija Bandhu. Not one of the twice born, but a friend of the twice born. The whole purpose of this system is to create good population. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when women are polluted by the populace, when the women are polluted, the populace is Varna Sankara. And when the Varna Sankara population increases, the situation of the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, all the Vedic literatures strongly warn against creating Varna Sankara population. When there is Varnasankara population, the people cannot be properly controlled for peace and prosperity, regardless of great legislative assemblies, parliaments, and similar bodies. Text 14. For the Brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or Kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on Brahmanas, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, customs, duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. Purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the position of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas as follows. Brahmanas have 6 occupational duties, of which 3 are compulsory, namely studying the Vedas, worshipping the deity, and giving charity. By teaching, by inducing others to worship the deity, and by accepting gifts, the Brahmanas receive the necessities of life. This is also confirmed in the Manu Samhita. Sanan tu karmanam asya trini karmani jivika yagya pyan pane yajana yapane chaiva vishuddach cha pratigraha. Of the 6 occupational duties of the Brahmanas, 3 are compulsory, namely worship of the deity, study of the Vedas, and the giving of charity. In exchange, a Brahmana should receive charity, and this should be his means of livelihood. A Brahmana cannot take up any professional occupational duty for a livelihood. The Shastras especially stress that if one claims to be a Brahmana, he cannot engage in the service of anyone else. Otherwise, he at once falls from his position and becomes a Shudra. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami belonged to a very respectable family, but because they engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, not even as ordinary clerks, but as ministers, they were ostracized from Brahminical society. Indeed, they became like Mohammedans and even changed their names. Unless the Brahmana is very pure, he cannot accept charity from others. Charity should be given to those who are pure. Even if one is born in a family of Brahmanas, if one acts as a Shudra, one cannot accept charity, for this is strictly prohibited. Although the Kshatriyas are almost as qualified as the Brahmanas, even they cannot accept charity. This is strictly prohibited in this verse by the word apratigraha. What to speak of the lower social orders? Even the Kshatriyas must not accept charity. The king or government may levy taxes upon citizens in various ways by revenue duties, customs duties, realization of fines, and so on, provided the king is able to give full protection to his subjects to assure the security of their life and property. Unless he is able to give protection, he cannot levy taxes. However, a king must not levy any tax upon the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. Text 15. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the Brahmanas and engage in such occupational duties as agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Shudras, the only duty is to accept a master from a higher social order and engage in his service. Text 16. As an alternative, a Brahmana may also take to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in the paddy field every day. He may collect paddy left in a field by its proprietor, or he may collect food grains left here and there in the shops of grain dealers. These are 4 means of livelihood that may also be adopted by Brahmanas. Among these 4, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it. Purport. A Brahmin is sometimes offered land and cows in charity, and thus, for his livelihood, he may act in the same way as a Vaishya, by cultivating land, giving protection to cows, and trading off his surpluses. A better process, however, is to pick up grains from a field or from a dealer's shop without begging. Text 17. Except in the time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. Purport. The occupational duty of a Brahmana should not be accepted by persons in the lower social orders, especially Vaishyas and Shudras. For example, an occupational duty of the Brahmana is to teach Vedic knowledge, but unless there is an emergency, this professional duty should not be accepted by the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. Even a Kshatriya cannot accept the duties of a Brahmana unless there is an emergency. And then, even if he does so, he should not accept charity from anyone else. Sometimes Brahmanas protest against our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmanas from Europeans, or in other words, from Lechas and Yavanas. This movement, however, is here supported in Srimad-Bhagavatam. At the present moment, society is in a chaotic condition, and everyone has given up the cultivation of spiritual life, which is especially meant for the Brahmanas. Because spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world, there is now an emergency. And therefore it is now time to train those who are considered lower and condemned, so that they may become Brahmanas and take up the work of spiritual progress. The spiritual progress of human society has been stopped, and this should be considered an emergency. Here is solid support from Narada Muni of the movement known as Krishna consciousness. Text 18 to 20. In times of emergency, one may accept any of the various types of professions known as Rita, Amrita, Mrita, Pramrita, and Satyanrita. But one should not at any time accept the profession of a dog. The profession of Unchashila, collecting grains from the field, is called Rita. Collecting without begging is called Amrita. Begging grains is called Mrita. Tilling the ground is called Pramrita. And trade is called Chatyanrita. Engaging in the service of low-grade persons, however, is called Shwavriti, the profession of the dogs. Specifically, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas should not engage in the low and abominable service of Shudras. Brahmanas should be well equipped with all the Vedic knowledge, and Kshatriyas should be acquainted with the worship of demigods. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chaturvarnya Mayashishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. The four divisions of human society were created by the Supreme Lord according to the three modes of material nature, and the work ascribed to them. Formerly, the principle of dividing human society into four sections, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, was strictly followed, but because of gradual neglect of the Varnashram principles, Varna Sankara population developed, and the entire institution has now been lost. In this age of Kali, practically everyone is a Shudra, Kalau, Shudra, Sambhava, and finding anyone who is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is very difficult. Although the Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, it is trying to re-establish the divine Varnashram institution, for without this division of society, there cannot be peace and prosperity anywhere. And we'll stop there. 7:30. Okay, open mic time. I'll start the ball rolling. Can I? Permission? Permission? Oh my God. All right, if you insist. He's got his hands up. He was eager.
What is the 30 qualifications? It kept on saying it in like every purport.
That was the first verse? You didn't hear the first verse? You were playing around. You didn't hear the first verse. Would you like to read the first verse?
I want to understand by you.
Huh?
I want to understand by you.
You'll understand by me. Whew, man, this is a big responsibility. I don't know. Okay. Because you're so sincere. I'll read that again. Okay, we're on chapter 21. Don't let me forget, because I'm going up here to the beginning. These are the 30 qualities that one must have to be a human being. Ready? What verse was it?
That's 12.
Huh, 12? These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. 1. Truthfulness. 2. Mercy. 3. Austerity. And then he explains observing fasts on certain days of the month. Ekadashi. Special festival days. 4. Bathing twice a day. 5. Tolerance. 6. Discrimination between right and wrong. 7. Control of the mind. 8. Control of the senses. 9. Non-violence. 10. Celibacy. 11. Charity. 12. Reading of Scripture. 13. Simplicity. 14. Satisfaction. Where was I?
14.
15?
Yeah. No.
14. Now 15. Rendering service to saintly persons. 6. Tell me to keep track. I'm losing track. 16. Gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements. Observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society. Computer games. Politics. Okay. Remaining silent and grave. And avoiding unnecessary talk. Politics. Considering whether one is the body or the soul. Distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals. Seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all saintly persons. Chanting about these activities and instructions. Always remembering these activities and instructions. Trying to render service. Performing worship. Offering obeisances. Becoming a servant. Becoming a friend. And surrendering one's whole self. Anyway, you miscounted one of them. There was one that looked kind of like there was one. There was two. There was actually one. That's the 30. Now it's interesting, see, because the last 7 are the 9, or the last 9 are the 9 processes of devotional service. So we're thinking that's the perfection, but those are just the activities that make you eligible for perfection. That was going to be my contribution this evening to the open mic. Because, the perfection is actually to find out who we are in the spiritual world and to take up our service face to face with Krishna. That's the perfection of life. That's the goal of this, all the things we've heard. It's not just to make human society and the material world peaceful. The purpose of making it peaceful is for us to become devotees. And through that process of devotional service, which are the last 9, most important in terms of importance, to purify our mind and senses to the point where we can actually perceive who we are. Somebody remember the verse? Panditji? Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, Pavitam, Idamuttamam, Pratyakshavangamam Dharmyam, Susukam, Kartamaviyam. So Pratyakshavangamam Dharma means this knowledge of devotional service, which is mentioned here that we should study and learn to follow, is the king of education, most secret of all secrets. It's the perfection of religion because it allows us to perceive for ourselves our spiritual identity. To realize that we're not the body, to perceive that we're not the body. That's called siddha, that's the perfection. But beyond the perfection is to know Krishna truth, which means to render ourselves to Krishna and perform our service in the spiritual world with our spiritual body. So it's a very high, the goal of life is very high, it's very elevated and seems like it's so far away, But by performing these activities and being a human being, what's that verse in the Gita? In the 18th, Sway Sway Karman Abhipata. Sway Sway Karman. Sorry, I don't remember. Hold it. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Sway Sway. Sway Sway. Yeah, there it is. Sway Sway Karma Biratak, 1845. I knew it was in the 18th chapter, but I didn't know where. Okay. By following his qualities of work, that was what the Varnashram system we're hearing about now. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These are the Varnas. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now, please hear from me how this can be done. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya came, so merciful. And when Ramananda Roy, when he was asking Ramananda Roy questions, he rejected every one of them, including the Varnashram. Because now we're in Kali Yuga, and as Prabhupada said in the purports, it's so chaotic, and there's so few people following, if anybody, following these principles, except for us practically, then it's very difficult to organize the thing properly. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya said, Stane stita shrutikatam shrutitam tanvanomir. What is that? Tanvanomir. Just stay where you are. Give up speculating about what the truth is. In other words, guesswork. Stop guessing about it. And hear, seriously, the truth from a pure devotee. That's it. And from that point on, Lord Chaitanya accepted. He rejected everything up in that. He says, yes, that's right. And then he said, but what's more? Then what? And then he just analyzed every stage of perfection up to, spontaneous love of God in Vrindavan. That's the goal of life, to play with Krishna in the spiritual world, with a spiritual body that doesn't die, doesn't get old, doesn't get sick, and you just taste spiritual ecstasy all the time, and it's increasing all the time, and there's no boredom, there's no resistance. We don't have to drag around a material body full of all these abominable things, and you don't have to bathe twice a day, otherwise it stinks. Anyway, yes, Honest John is going to speak.
Let me ask a quick question.
Please.
The bow that Shiva used to attack the 3 cities, is that the same bow that Lord Rama broke?
Yes. Well done.
Thank you.
You got that one right. That was Shiva's bow that Lord Ramachandra broke, and nobody could even pick it up, because that happened a long time ago. In those days, not only was everyone very big, but they were very strong. Thank you very much, Timo. Well done, I say. Great question. You got the whole thing rocking. Yes. And Lord Ramachandra just picked it up, strung it, and then just pulled it back and whacked and broke it into 2. That bow was so big, it took like 30 men to move it. It was like palm tree length. I mean, it was like huge, because in those days, people were a lot bigger. We're living in such a world where everything is like being made, more and more insignificant and smaller and dirtier. So we can't even conceive of what it was like in pure culture. Therefore, when we hear these qualities, we're thinking, oh my God, this is just what it means to be a human being. How merciful is Lord Chaitanya? He's picking us up from that position of not being able to do any of those things, and giving us the holy name of Krishna. The process of saying kirtan. I mean, if we don't have intense gratitude and do it ourselves and share it with others, then we are ingrates. That's the source of determination and the source of strength, the source of the pillar of success in spiritual life. The source of the ability to see the sufferings of others. Because as long as you're suffering, you can't see the sufferings of others, because you're too absorbed in, either relishing or suffering whatever it is you're going through at the moment. I mean, these purports by Prabhupada, especially from the 7th canto on, they're so incredible. All of them, but still, they're getting better and better, huh? Yes, Uncle John.
One more quick. If I was reading in that book, thing that if you have problems in absorbing yourself in chanting, and of course we already know this, but it just restates the obvious. They were saying, then read the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, and then you will develop your absorption in the mantra. That was his advice.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, of course, that's your advice too. But
Well, I mean, I
So he's
think I quoted in one of my last offerings to Prabhupada, and we quoted it again. It'll take me a little while to find it, so I won't look for it now. But the essence of it is that the chanting is essential, especially in the beginning. It's always essential. I'm not trying to say it's not. It's essential always. The level of the chanting gets better and better, and you see Krishna face to face in the holy name. But in the beginning, it's most essential for purifying the heart. And then when one's heart becomes purified, you want to hear about him. So the chanting leads to the hearing of the Gita and the Bhagavatam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, reading. We're up to text 240 or 280 something of 240 something. Oh, I can tell you right now. Of the 9th chapter of the Madhya Lila. We're moving right along, you know. Even though I can't do every day, but still. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, these books, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's all there. And Nectar Devotion, science of devotional service, the physics of devotional service. Prabhupada said these books, you don't need any more than these books to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Of course, anyway, Hare Krishna. It's an ocean. It's an ocean. And Prabhupada said, you pick up, if you're in any anxiety, pick up any one of his books, wherever you are, and just open it up and start to read, and your anxiety goes away, if you actually absorb yourself in it. Not if your mind's somewhere else and you're just turning the page, then it's not going to work. It's not automatic like that. And whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever state you're in, if you just open any one of his books and read, you get the association of the liberated soul. You get the association of Krishna. And it takes your anxiety away immediately. I mean, that doesn't mean that when you stop reading, you won't be in anxiety again, unless you have to get it. It takes advancement to stay there, to be fixed. But that's how powerful these books are. Okay, do we have questions from the...
No questions.
Okay, powerful. This is powerful reading material, Prabhupada said. It's powerful reading material. Meant to take us forward in our spiritual lives and give us an actual glimpse, to open our eyes, to give us a glimpse of what it would be like to actually be happy, to actually be pure and in love with Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, I will take your permission now and go, because I have to get up and record tomorrow morning early, really early, because it's a weekday, and weekdays we have to stop at 6:30, so we have to, or 7, so we have to record very early. Lord Shiva ki jai. Narada Muni ki jai. Maharaj Yudhishthira ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, the eternal Varnashram system, human form of life ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. See you all tomorrow night, same place, same station. Hare Krishna. Same time.